Hello and welcome to Tech Latest by Nikkei Asia, where we bring you the freshest updates from the technology sector in Asia. Every episode, one of our reporters from the region will be filling us in on the tech news on their radar, from semiconductors in China to space travel in Japan to startups in Indonesia. From Nikkei Asia's Tokyo headquarters, I'm Alice French. In this episode, my colleague Jada Nagumo is talking to Kenji Kawase, our chief business news correspondent who's based in Hong Kong, about the obstacles that undersea cable companies are facing in the South China Sea.
Hi, Kenji. Thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me, Jada.
So we recently ran an impressive feature story on Asia's subsea cable projects, which have turned into a focal point of geopolitical tensions involving China. Can you tell us more about this piece?
Sure. Piece was written by our Singapore correspondent, Tsubasa Suruga, and he looked into the undersea cable project, which has been stalled and disrupted because of China's highly contested claim in the South China Sea.
Well, are these companies bypassing the South China Sea? Because that would have various issues for them, mainly involving project delays, I imagine.
Yes. The big issue here is that China has a very big claim, very highly contested claim on South China Sea under the so-called 9 dotted lines, which basically cover the entire South China Sea. Therefore, the companies that are trying to install undersea cables have no choice basically but to abide by the China's the claims. But since China has been intensifying their claims on the water, the approval process has been stalling. And also the important thing is that the People's Liberation Army is involved. And so even before applying for the actual license to construct cables, the pre-approval from the PLA is needed, which, as you can imagine, is a very difficult. There is a specific case where Singtel, the Singaporean telco, is involved, and there have been a substantial delay in this project that should have already been completed, but it's on delay. And actually, our reporter, Tsubasa, has talked to the 30-year veterans who's in Singtel, who is involved in the project, about how things are not looking so smooth.
But undersea cables are essential for us to live the way we do now, right?
Yes. You don't see it, of course, but it's very important. As well, in the past, it was only about telephone or sending your fax or maybe later on your email. But now you're talking about a big amount of data that's going across the Pacific or among the region through, like, say, for instance, your YouTube or Netflix channel that you watch. So the demand for the capacity is only growing. So the delay or disruption in the construction of these cables have a very significant impact on those business, and also for everyone who usually watches YouTube or Netflix or use whatever telecommunication methods. And by the way, as you know, this part of the world is one of the most busiest part of the world in terms of data. In Asia, I'll just give you some numbers here. $2.59 billion in these subsea cable projects are planned between 2023, this year, and 2025.
I see. And you mentioned, so China has claimed the South China Sea almost entirely for itself. But hasn't this assertion been disputed? And are companies just reluctantly going by Beijing's book?
So the claim over South China Sea by China under the so-called 9 dotted line is quite arbitrary, because other countries that are involved in the region have overlapping claims against China. And it's not only that the other countries are claiming, but the International Court in The Hague have ruled that China's claim is not valid, which was brought to court by the Philippines. But since China is not abiding by the decision, China has not accepted the decision. China kept on going ahead with their claims. And these companies that are involved in installation of the project, since China is a big market, they follow what China says, and they wait for the Chinese approval, and so they go through the PLA, and therefore it's taking a lot of time. There are moves by some companies that try to sort of divert, sort of go the other way, sort of use less of South China Sea. So the rivalry, the U.S.-China rivalry, U.S.-China tension is pushing some of the companies that are installing the cables there to diversify the routing. They try to build new cables that goes to Japan, Taiwan, Philippines, Singapore, and other parts of the region. Try not to go cut through South China Sea as much as possible. In the lead up to the Hiroshima G7 summit, which closed last Sunday, there was a meeting, dedicated meeting by digital and technology ministers from the 7 countries. And the main topic of the meeting was on undersea cable communication network, and that is to support the developing and emerging countries.
Thanks so much, Kenji. Are there any other stories you would like to recommend to our readers this week?
Yes, actually, there were 2 big Chinese tech companies that announced and have been reported about their layoffs. And one, Alibaba, our reporter reported that Alibaba Cloud Service will be cutting about 7% of their personnel. And on the same day, this was on Wednesday, Lenovo, the largest PC maker in the whole world, said they were at least cutting about 5%. Actually, the CFO said it was 8 to 9% of their personnel. They didn't give us a number from Lenovo. No number came out from Lenovo. But if it's 5%, that's about 4,000 people. And if it's 8 to 9, even more.
I see. Well, it seems like the big tech layoff is spreading to Asia as well. You can check all these stories out on our website. Thank you for joining us today, Kenji.
Thank you very much, Jada.
That's all for this installment. You can read more of Kenji's reporting, along with a host of other stories about Asia's tech industry, on Nikkei Asia's website, asia.nikkei.com. And if you like what you hear, why not subscribe to our weekly Tech Asia newsletter, which will be delivered to your inbox every Thursday. There's a link to sign up in the show notes. And check back in next time for more updates on the tech trends that matter.